Are you serious? Are you serious? Is this the end of the world? Well, no, not yet. But we are truly getting close. We're definitely getting closer. Welcome, guys, to this live broadcast. I'm just jumping here right now because we got some very important information to share with you on a massive skull, a giant skull that was found in China and was hidden has finally been revealed. This thing is huge. It's a human skull. They have done the DNA test on it. It is human, but it also has some other weird chromosomes in it, which means I believe it's a giant. Everyone's admitting it's a giant. Even the archaeologists, even the Chinese government has said this is a giant. They're calling him Dragon Man, and the skull reveals a new branch of family tree more closely related to today's modern day humans, they say, than even the Neanderthals. Well, that's because it is a Nephilim. It's half man, half fallen angel. Now, we'll talk about this in just a second. Give me a chance to share with you something right now, and that is www.noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. Now, did you know that gold coins caused the ultimate damage to the global economy back in the 1800s? It was back in 1857. It's known as the Panic of 1857, when the SS America, a ship traveling east, sank, carrying with it tons of gold coins. Banks were anticipating gold coins, panicked. The coins stayed under the ocean for over 100 years. It took major reforms for the economy to recover from these lost gold coins. The Titanic may have been the most popular ship that ever sank, but the SS America is arguably the most economically damaging. Well, they finally found it. They finally pulled the gold up in a tremendous recovery, and that gold has now been recovered. And noblegoldinvestment.com has his hands on some of those gold coins. They're $20 gold pieces minted here in America, $20 called Gold Liberty coins, and they were $20 coins back then. Today, they're worth way more than that. And you can own one of those. If you'd like to buy it, simply go to noblegoldinvestments.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestments.com. Or I would recommend Monday morning, you pick up the phone and call Colin Plume at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347, and tell them that Pastor Paul Begley sent you there. Please let them know that, okay? All right, here's the deal. We have, it's shocking, really. The giants. Okay, so you know what? How long have you heard about evolution? I mean, the Darwin's theory of evolution is that man came from monkeys. Well, people don't believe that. The Bible certainly doesn't support that. And the world now, people with common sense are saying, that's silly. That's ridiculous. There's no scientific proof at all that man came from monkey or from apes. So, and you got all these giants, these bones, these skulls that have been found over the last 200 years that the Smithsonian Institute went and would buy and gobble up and take back and hide. Been hiding them for about 150 years. But now we keep finding them. This is a skull that was discovered in China, and it is part human. It's part human. The DNA is part human, part something else. Well, I can tell you it's part fallen angels. Well, so here's what the deal is. Just like the aliens, the world has to come up with a narrative to who are or what are these alien entities or demonic entities. The world is trying to set the narrative, and the church better get on top of this. We better be first. We better get out there, because they're actually getting, they got a head start on us. That's why I'm holding this webinar. Aliens, angels, and demons, because the church better address this. Well, also, we better address the giants. So what's happened is the world hid all the bones. They hid all the bones. They hid all the bones. They didn't want you to find the bones. They didn't want you to show you that there were 12-foot, 9-foot, 13-foot humans. They don't care that the Bible says in Genesis 6 that the fallen angels looked upon the daughters of men and saw that they were fair and took them wives that they chose. And those women were impregnated from the fallen angels, and they bore children. Giants, men of renown, were born with intelligence, superhuman intelligence, much smarter than even humans. These guys weren't knuckle draggers. They weren't the Neanderthals. This was man. Remember what the serpent said to Eve. Satan said, "Look, no, you're not going to die." He said, "If you eat of this fruit, if you will commune with me, if you will enter in with me, I'll make your eyes open to where you'll be as smart as God." Well, there was some truth to what he said. There was a lot of lies too. First of all, you will die. Yes, your eyes will be open, but you will never be as smart as God. But you will be almost as smart as an angel. And that's exactly what happened. Eve was deceived. And we know that there were giants in the land, Genesis 6, that came from these fallen angels. And the Bible says they were before and after the flood. So this happened again. Matter of fact, David killed Goliath. Joshua and Caleb went around killing a bunch of giants, even before David did. They took on tribes of giants that roamed the earth, including in China, including in North America. Matter of fact, there's been skulls and skeletons found all over all 7 continents of the earth. It's been hidden from the public, but now they just decided that nobody believes in Darwin's theory of evolution, and so they see that L.A. Marzulli, Steve Quayle, Paul Begley, Derek Gilbert, and many others now are sharing with the public, from a biblical standpoint, Timothy Alberino, that giants were real. It's in the Bible, and that we know they were real, and they're coming back, some form or another, some type of DNA manipulation somehow. So what the world is doing, they've decided they better get and change the narrative. They are going to turn you away from evolution, and they're coming up with a new story. Let me read this to you. Check this out. They call this guy Dragon Man. He was, of course, found in China. Chinese researchers have called the skull found in Harbin in the north a Homo longi. We're Homo sapiens. They're calling him a Homo longi, a dragon man. But other experts are more cautious about naming a new species. Okay, so here we go. Now, the discovery of this huge fossil skull that was wrapped up and hidden in a Chinese well for 90 years has forced scientists to rewrite the story of human evolution. No, what about all the rest of the giants that L.A. Marzulli has covered? Evolution was a joke, and everyone knows it. So now the world has got to come up with a new narrative. Okay, they got to figure out what to do about these giants because Steve Quayle and L.A. Marzulli and these guys are right. Well, analysis of the remains has revealed a new branch of human family tree that points to a previously unknown sister group more closely related to modern humans than the Neanderthals. The extraordinary fossil or skull has been named a new human species, Homo longi, or Dragon Man, by Chinese researchers, although other experts are more cautious. I think this is one of the most important finds of the past 50 years. You talk about a bunch of liars. We've got the Smithsonian Institute has hundreds of giants, full skeletal remains in the Smithsonian Institute, and they will not let the public see it. What liars. He says, I think this is one of the most important finds in the past 50 years, said Professor Chris Stringer, research leader at the Natural History Museum in London, England, who worked on the project. It is a wonderfully preserved fossil. Yeah. The skull appears to have a remarkable backstory. According to researchers, it was originally found in 1933 by a Chinese laborer building a bridge over the Songgu River in Harbin, China. That's China's northernmost province. During the Japanese occupation of China, they wanted to keep the skull from falling into the hands of the Japanese. So he wrapped it and hid it in an abandoned well, resurfacing in 2018 after the man who hid this skull told his grandson on his deathbed, you got to go, there's a certain well, you go down in there, son, you will find a skull. It's of a skull of a giant. I hid it there in 1933. This old man finally told where it was at, and they went and got it. And that, you're looking at it right here. Look at the bridge over the eyes. Look how wide the nose is. Matter of fact, they believe that this man would have been about 10'5". 10'5". Bigger than Goliath. Bigger than Goliath in the Bible. Okay? About 11 inches taller. Here's what they say that these people would have looked like back in the day. So picture this guy that he's 10 foot tall, huge. You can see the very powerful looking brow, big nose, rugged jawline, extremely well built. And this guy, let's say he's 10'5". Okay. They were giants. They roamed China. We know that the North American Indians, if you go to Serpent Mound, they're in Ohio, and they have found bones throughout Ohio and Indiana for sure. Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana is where they found a lot of giant skulls. Go back in history and look at it, which they said that these were called giant Indians that lived in North America before America was ever formed as a nation. Okay, but the legend is that these giants lived there, and they were about 11 foot tall that lived in North America, about 11 footers. Okay, now the giants that lived in Russia, like Siberia and some of those areas, they said were somewhere between 11 and 12 foot tall. The biggest ones was really the ones that were in Canaan or in Israel that were close to 13 foot tall. And that's why Joshua and Caleb said we look like grasshoppers. Okay. We just look like grasshoppers. Now, here's what they say about this man right here. And that's an illustration. Just say he's 10 foot, about 10'5". They said that this extraordinary fossil has been named a new human species, Homo longi, or Dragon Man. The skull appeared to be a remarkable story, as I said, in 1933. Now, we also found an international team led by Professor Quang Jai at the Hebei Geo University in China drew on geochemical techniques to narrow down when the skull came to rest in Harbin, China, dating the bones to at least 146,000 years old. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I believe that. I don't have a clue how long ago these giants roamed the land, but we know they did. We know because the Bible tells us we did. We know this. The skull has a unique combination of primitive and more modern features, with the face in particular more closely resembling Homo sapiens. That's us. One huge molar remains on in this skull. There's one huge tooth that they have on this skull, way in the back. So they know this thing was a big, big beast. Now, they also said the skull was 23 centimeters long and more than 15 centimeters wide, is substantially larger than my head, and has ample room for 1,420 millimeters for a modern human brain. Beneath the thick brow ridge right in here, the face had large square eye sockets, but is delicate despite its size. The guy had a huge head, said the Professor Stringer. The researchers believe the skull belonged to a male, who was probably 50 years old, who would have been an impressive physical specimen. His wide nose allowed him to breathe huge volumes of air, indicating a high-energy lifestyle. While sheer size would have helped him withstand the brutally cold winters in the region, Homo longi is heavily built, very robust, and according to Professor Nee, a paleontologist, it is hard to estimate the height, but the massive head should match a height higher than average humans by far, 10 foot 5. To work out where the Harbin individual fitted into human history, here's their narrative. The scientists fed measurements from the fossil 95 other skulls into software that compiled the most likely family tree. To their surprise, they said, this Harbin skull and a handful of others from China form a new branch closer to modern humans than the Neanderthals. To the Chinese researchers believe that the Harbin skull is distinctive enough to make it a new species. But Stringer's not convinced. Professor Stringer said he believes it's similar to others found in the country of China back in 1978. I prefer to call it Homo dalanensis, but it's not a big deal, he said. The important thing is this third lineage of later humans that are separate from Neanderthals and separate from Homo sapiens needs to be looked at. Okay, so what they're trying to say is this is almost a missing link, but they said we need to rethink evolution. So here's what I believe they're doing. And Heidi said this, me and her talked about this afternoon. We believe that they are coming up with their own new narrative for the giants that roam the land. They know we know. They know the public knows there were giants. They know the Christians have set the narrative and have for the last 30 years with L.A. Marzulli's book, the trilogy of the Nephilims, and Steve Quayle's books and videos. And then here comes Timothy Alberino, Paul Begley, and several others, and Derek Gilbert and others. They now know that they have to address this because we have said, the Bible says, it's in Genesis 6. We keep preaching it. You can't deny it. It's right there. We explain why there were giants and how they came and when they and where they were, and other locations that have been found help back it up. So they have, they came out with the UFO thing with ancient aliens. They're trying to set the narrative on UFOs and aliens. We've already set the narrative on giants. They thought they had it with their little Darwin theory of evolution, but it didn't make sense. People didn't buy it. Nobody believes we came from apes. Everybody can get behind the fact that that giants were created because the fallen ones intermingled and mixed the seed with humans. Evolution is dead. Darwin's theory of evolution died. Matter of fact, when Darwin was dying, he said it's all alive. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. So we set the narrative on the giants. They're now coming in. They're trying to reset the story on the giants. They're going to try to take this narrative away from us. We're not going to let them do it. I hope. We're trying to take this narrative away from them on the aliens because we know they're wrong. We know it has to do with the coming of the beast, the coming of the false prophet, the coming of Lucifer, his last chance to try to destroy Jesus Christ, and he will fail miserably. So I'm going to ask you something. Are you saved? Give your life to Jesus Christ because we're running out of time. I hope you enjoyed this 22-minute interview or video. Are you saved? I'll be at Freedom Fellowship tomorrow. I'm not preaching the message, but I'll be there. I'm going to talk about some prophecy there. It's going to be a great service. It's the last Sunday morning worship service at that facility. That's it. Next Sunday, they start in the tent on July 4th. Freedom Fellowship in the Villages. Are you saved?